New Deloitte data highlights the popularity of ad tiers. CTV commerce gets a boost from Walmart and Vizio. The Disney-OpenAI deal is over and Netflix streams MLB's opening game. Listen on.
Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Stream. This is Will Richmond from Video News, and that was Colin Dixon from In-Screen Media at the beginning. Colin, how is everything going for you this week?
It's great. Can you believe it's already the start of baseball season? I just can't believe that's already happening.
I know. Some of us are still focused on the NBA season, I'll admit. But yeah, that's going to be one of our stories this week, the kickoff to MLB and Netflix's role. But we have a number of different stories we're going to cover this week, Colin, and you're going to get us started with new data from Deloitte.
I am. And just a note to our listeners, I mentioned last week that we were trying to set up an interview around fasts. Fortunately, we were going to do that today, but it didn't happen. We'll try and reschedule it for next week. So look out for that more fast-focused episode next week. Anyway, Deloitte releases this digital media trends report, which is a pretty extensive report. It releases it on an annual basis, and they talk to over 3,500 consumers. And they released this data this week. And the survey was actually done between October and November of 2025. So, it's a quarter old, but still incredibly relevant. And there were some pretty interesting findings this time, Will. First of all, they found that 68% of respondents now have at least one lower-priced ad-supported SVOD tier. And we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, how successful these have been. And Tenor data also shows just how successful the ad-supported tiers have been. Well, they give us a perspective. They said 68% respondents, as I said, already have one, and that's up from 46% in 2024. And we know that was a pivotal period because that was around about the time that Netflix and Disney Plus had recently introduced their ad-supported tiers and were pushing them. So it really does seem to have had a big impact on what we as consumers are prepared to sign up for. And I think we talked on the podcast about some hub data already about how people are more accepting of ads. And this is all showing up in the data now with so many people using the ad-supported SVOD tiers. But there was also some frustration coming out in the data. Deloitte says that nearly three-quarters, they say about 73% of respondents say they're frustrated that streaming services they subscribe to continue to raise prices. And they went a little bit further than that because they went ahead and asked, okay, so if one of your services increased the price by $5, how much, what would you do? And more than half, 61% of respondents said they would cancel their favorite SVOD service if the price increased $5. That's their favorite one, Will. So I think what that tells us is that there really is some resistance now from consumers about these price increases. Now, of course, we know people will say they'll cancel, and they often don't. But you can bet about half, something like a half, would actually follow through. So 20 to 30% reduction in subscribers is pretty substantial. And we have seen services in the past year or so increase the prices pretty considerably. Peacock slammed through a $3 increase in the last few months, which was pretty steep. So I really do think that this underscores that there is now a limit to the amount that folks like Disney and Netflix can raise prices and not see high consumer churn. Remember, there is now no barrier holding those people. They can leave at the end of the month. So I thought that was particularly interesting. And there was a lot of data here, Will, but I wanted to pick on one other area that they looked at, which I thought was really interesting and very relevant, and that is AI. And I was kind of surprised at the low interest and low trust in AI. 27% of respondents, only 27%, said they'd like personalized AI-generated digests of streaming, social, podcast, and actor updates about their favorite shows and franchises. And, in the areas where I see these AI-generated summaries, I find myself skipping over them and trying to look at the original data. They said 24% said they would like the option to co-create content, including developing alternative endings to shows or movies. And this, of course, speaks to Disney. One of the things Disney is doing is it's trying to encourage its users to create fan content and post them, fan videos, and post them up to Disney Plus. So this shows that actually this is not a bad number, 24%. That shows that there's quite a few people there who are pretty interested in doing something like that. So that could be quite interesting for Disney to invest in. And of course, there was other big news involving Disney in this area, which we'll get to in a little bit. And finally, a similar share of respondents said that they're willing to interact with virtual AI personalities, but only if they were interesting and informative. And that certainly, I can certainly see that. There's lots of services now launching these AI assistants and personalities. In fact, we talked about one with Canela Media, I think last year, towards the end of last year. We talked about one. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these going forward. So that's just sort of a smattering of the data there, Will. Anything else catch your eye in that data?
Yeah, I think it's a great synopsis, Colin. And there was one other thing that caught my eye, which is that the average subscribing household, their streaming spend on a monthly basis was $69, the same as it was a year ago. And I think that I just try to connect two dots here. I think the fact that it held steady in the midst of all of the price increases that we've seen suggests that households are shifting to some degree of ad-supported tiers in order to keep their rates either level or even possibly reduced. That households are managing their streaming services, and that's really no surprise, I think, in the midst of all the price increases that we've seen, and also just the kind of state of the economy. So that jumped out at me, and then just kind of related to that, Deloitte segmented heavier users versus more casual users, and heavier users are spending an average of $71 per month on subscriptions, whereas casual users are spending $56 per month. So we see a difference there between people who are spending a lot of time using streaming and those who are using it less so. But I think overall, a key takeaway here is that prices continue to go up, and as you said earlier, consumers are sensitive to that.
They are, and I don't know about you, but I was totting up the services that I subscribed to this week, Will, and I think I got to 9. I think I have like 9 of these things, probably spending $80 a month. Any idea how many you use? I'd
have to total them up, and if you're at 80, Colin, you're actually slightly more than the average. We were just talking about $69, so you would be a heavy user then, I suppose.
Well, I guess I'm kind of a special case, right? I'm keeping some of these services, I'm just keeping an eye on because of what we do, but I think I probably am, though, a heavy SVOD user.
Well, let's move on, Colin. We have 3 other stories that we want to get to on today's podcast. And the second one you alluded to just a moment ago, which is Disney and what they are trying to do with getting viewers to create content that would be a part of Disney Plus in key part of making that happen was their deal struck just a few months ago with OpenAI, where Disney would enable viewers to use Sora and which is their Gen AI video app, to access, I think it was a couple hundred Disney characters to build content off of. Unfortunately, this week brought the news from OpenAI that they are actually discontinuing Sora. And as part of discontinuing Sora, Disney's deal with OpenAI was terminated, as was a $1 billion investment that Disney was going to make in OpenAI as part of that deal with Sora. Listeners will remember that you and I actually liked that deal. We thought Disney was taking a measured approach to getting involved with AI, also in a very sensitive way, allowing fans to access a limited number of Disney characters that, to create videos that would then live alongside Disney Plus in some manner. We both like the idea of that sort of fandom, expression of fandom, and also Disney dipping its toe into the AI world. But all of that now goes by the board because there's no more Sora. And it's just kind of speculation on why OpenAI dropped Sora. It's hard to tell exactly what they're doing, but it seems like they're trying to reduce the number of initiatives they're pursuing. And apparently Sora just did not get a lot of traction. So they may have been ahead of their time, or just didn't work as well as they had hoped. But one way or the other, the Disney OpenAI deal is now dead.
Yeah, and I think this is actually pretty difficult for Disney now, because this was, I think, part of their key strategy. I mentioned during the Deloitte data that they're really trying to get their fan base to create fan videos to post on Disney Plus, and I think this is an important feature for younger people. So Disney now has to go out and find a new partner to help them do that. Of course, there's a bunch out there. There's DaVinci, there's Canva, there's Google Gemini in video. There's a whole bunch of them out there. I am not definitely qualified to say which one of those is good or not, but you got to have this, because remember, YouTube is investing pretty heavily in this for their creators. So they're making AI tools available for them. I wonder maybe if there is a partnership for Disney with YouTube here. That's a potential. That might be a long shot, bearing in mind that I think Disney is doing this in part to defend themselves against what's going on YouTube, and draw younger people onto their platform more, to spend more time with Disney Plus. But it's a bit of a problem now for Disney, because they now have this hole in their strategy for getting video shorts and fan videos onto Disney Plus.
Yeah, and Colin, I was saying, we were talking before we started recording, that one can only imagine the number of hours that must have been spent by Disney trying to putting that OpenAI deal together, given all the different sensitivities at work, to now have the deal basically come to nothing. As you said, it is a setback, and Disney, I think we agree, would be smart to figure out some ways to enhance fandom within Disney Plus and potentially leveraging Gen AI. So we'll wait and see what Disney has up its sleeve, whether they strike another deal here.
Yeah, terribly sticky stuff that for younger folks, I think.
Yeah.
Let's move on, Will. And I wanted to give an update on Vizio. Of course, our listeners will remember we talked about this deal that Walmart purchased Vizio. I think it's over a year ago now. So that deal was completed, and it's been kind of quiet over there since then. I know I had a bunch of recommendations, and they've not implemented some of them, and are kind of disappointing. But they did come out of the closet a little bit on some innovations this week as part of New Fronts. And this was actually one of the changes that they've made, which I think makes a lot of sense, and I was fully expecting, that they have replaced Vizio OS's login with Walmart. So now for new Vizio TVs, I think it's starting out on some, but I've no doubt it will spread to all Vizio TVs in the not too distant future. You're not going to create a Vizio account. You're going to create, if you don't have one, a Walmart account, or you will be able to sign in with your Walmart account. And they're actually also providing a way for people with existing Vizio TVs to convert them to use their Walmart account, and they can abandon their Vizio login. And I have not done this with my Vizio TV, but I will in the very near future. And this, of course, makes so much sense for them because, like Amazon, Walmart is interested in selling you stuff. And this really brings together that viewing data with your purchase data in Walmart stores. And that is a treasure trove of information which they want to leverage to improve advertising performance. And that was the other part of their announcement. Basically, that's exactly what they're doing. They're looking to use that unified data to provide much better targeting and placement for advertisers, and to tie that to a purchase, to be able to execute a purchase in the Walmart store based on that information. They were talking about, in their press release, they were talking about some stuff that they've been doing with L'Oreal with premium advertising placement on Vizio OS in the US, powered by, quote, Walmart's first-party customer insights. And they've also done this with other brands, including Cafe Bustelo. They say they saw median viewing of 44% for brands such as Cafe Bustelo. And they said that campaign they did with Cafe Bustelo drove 98% incremental household reach beyond linear TV. And this sort of advanced advertising is powered by that first-party data. So being able to tie a viewer to a purchase history is so powerful for advertisers and really increases the value of any advertisement placed in that environment. Now, they weren't the only ones that were making announcements at New Fronts about this. This was kind of a theme. Samsung was getting in on the act, Will, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Samsung not to be outdone by Vizio. And of course, Amazon is out there as well, wanting to get into this kind of shoppable TV space. So deal announced between Samsung ads and Amazon ads seems now to allow those who are using Samsung TV Plus, which is the OS that Samsung smart TV users have, would allow them to add products to a cart, to an Amazon cart, and be able to purchase directly through their Samsung smart TVs. So I think we've seen that type of thing in other places already. And I know I see that in my Roku TV periodically as well, within ads, the kind of one click to be able to access. So Samsung and Amazon getting in here as well with Vizio and Walmart.
Yeah, just one note though, Will. Samsung TV Plus is the built-in fast service in the operating system. The operating system is actually called Tizen, but yes. I think your point is well made.
Yes, fair enough. Thank you for clarifying that, Colin. Was there anything else on that topic, Colin, that you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we've talked in the past about the holy grail of advertising is being able to tie action and in particular purchase to an advertisement that's been placed. We've seen Roku extremely active in this area, and of course Amazon, king of the area in general, right, has been doing interactive advertising. I think this is now becoming a very distinct difference between CTV and traditional TV. And it's only a matter of time before a lot of those dollars that are being wasted on traditional TV shift over now to CTV because they can show action, and they can show so much more specifically how effective the ads are. The one fly in the ointment, and we've talked about this so many times, is that there's no unified standard for measuring all of this. But certainly for big advertisers, getting those partnerships with folks like Samsung, Roku, and with Vizio and Walmart, those will definitely bear, I think, a lot of fruit in their advertising.
Yep. Well, let's wrap up with one last story this week, Colin, quickly. The MLB season has officially started. It started yesterday. We're recording here on Thursday. And we've talked so many times now about how sports is coming to streaming. And indeed, the MLB opener this year, only game yesterday was the Yankees versus the San Francisco Giants, which the Yankees won 7-0. And
ouch.
That game, right, ouch for you. That game was actually streamed on Netflix, and Netflix has been kind of putting its toe in the sports water here and there. And this streaming of this major of MLB season opener this year was part of a deal that was announced last fall. Netflix will have it seems like a 3-year deal that they signed, and Netflix will have access to a couple of other baseball-related events, the Home Run Derby, and some other action this season. And again, we see, on the edges, not necessarily, full seasons, but on the edges, Netflix starting to dabble.
Indeed. And I love this. I think one of the things I've been very excited about is that streaming offers you so much more opportunity to create an engaging experience than you can with traditional TV. Now, neither of us did see the MLB broadcast on Netflix, which is a shame. But I'm really excited about this, Will. I didn't see anything in the press about any problems. All those skeptics that said that streaming couldn't scale to live sports and large live sports audiences are now being proved wrong. We've seen it with the Super Bowl and with the Olympics. It's just I think it's really exciting time for people that are into sports, because they're just going to get so much better experiences in the streaming world than they possibly could have in the traditional TV world. So this is one of the areas that I think streaming is really delivering on now, and it's an exciting time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, I agree with you on all that. In fact, I actually saw that Yankees game pop up on Netflix last night, but I was focused on watching the Celtics beat OKC last night, so I didn't end up getting to the Yankees game. But agreed, much more to come in the future. There
is, and even it impacts even me, Will, even though I don't tend to use the stats and whatnot. It's just really nice to know that I can join a game in progress and go back to the beginning, or see the highlights before I join the live stream. These sorts of features just make it so much better than it used to be. So anyway, I think enough on that, and I think that's probably enough from us this week, right?
Yes, we covered a lot of ground, so thanks everybody for listening in on this week's edition of Inside the Stream, and we will see you all again next week. Inside the Stream is a production of In-Screen Media and Video News, all rights reserved.